All right, let's go to models folder. Let's bring in the flashlight onto the first person controller. So this model, the flashlights is gonna be the flashlights on the player's hand. Okay, so here we're gonna just simply replace the test flashlight. Okay, so let's just drop the flashlights in the scene and bring it in front of the player. Okay, so you can see that it's very hard for me to find a location. So what we can do is I can just drop the flashlights into the first person character folder. Okay, and once it's dropped in there, the position of the flashlights is its position relative to its parent object, which is the first person character. Does that make sense? So now the flashlight is the child object of the first person controller. So that means if I just zero out its position, it will move to its parent's location. So here we go. So here's the flashlight. So we will bring it in front of the player, and let's change its rotation. First is we need to make it aim forward, so that's 90 degree. And second, let me check the button. Where's the button? Oh, it's at the bottom. So we're going to rotate on this axis for hold on. Okay, so for minus 90. Okay, so we're gonna just use this number. So minus 90 and 90 and 90. So that's for the rotation. So here we go. So now you see that there's a button on top of it. All right, so let's see how big is that on the screen. So definitely it's too small. So we have to first, we have to scale it up. And here, let me put 333, and let me see if it's too big. And then let's adjust its position. Get it closer to the camera. So here we go. And I think a little bit leftward, a little bit backward. Yeah, looks better. And I think it's a little bit too big, so maybe I'll try 2.5 instead for the scale. Yeah, that's close. Okay, so now let's work on the texture. And I don't think we need this text flashlights. We don't need it anymore, so we can simply just delete it. And later on, we're going to replace it with the test flashlight in the script, in the pickup script that we just applied. Okay, but before we do that, let's work on the texture. So let's drop the flashlight texture onto it. Okay, and if you go to its the glass here, so we need to create another texture, another material for that. So let's create a material. Let's say flashlight glass, and we will use the same texture, same normal map, but the only difference is here we're gonna change from standard to FX and glass and stand bump distorted. Okay, so if you just drop it in there, so that's gonna be a glass, so it's transparent. Okay, so that will make it more realistic. And for those people who know 3D modeling, you can even change this light bulb, okay, to a kind of yellowish color, and then assign a self-illumination texture, self-illumination material, excuse me, onto the light bulb, so it all looks like it's lightened. Okay, so now we have this flashlights. Okay, and now we're going to make it actually lighten up. So let's create a light for it. Okay, so first of all, let's right click on this flashlight and create an empty object. So that empty object will attach to it, and also it'll be created at the same location. Okay, so here we can see light mode 1. Okay, so that will be the lighting mode 1, and let's move it to the top of the flashlight. Okay, and then let's right click on the light mode 1, and let's create a you know what, actually let's duplicate this first. Duplicate that one. So night mode, we got night mode 2. Okay, night mode 2. That's it. So we will have 2 different lighting mode. So now let's right click on the light mode 1 and create a light. Let's create a spotlight. Okay, so here we go, spotlight. And as you can see, the spotlight is aiming to the sky. So here we're going to rotate it in minus 90 degree along the x-axis. So it's aim forward. Okay, now it's hard to see how it looks. So if I turn off the directional light, okay, and if I turn off the light globe, so that's just the flashlight is working. So it's hard to see anything. Okay, so what if I select the light, the spotlight, and if I increase the range, for example, if I do 30, see, now I'm able to see something there. And spotlight angle, if we try 45, intensity, if I try 9, see, I'm able to see something. All right, to make this more kind of accurate, I would let me see where the player is located. So okay, so let me turn on the lights so I can see how far away our player is standing towards the container. Okay, so it's in this corner. So you know what, let's move the first person controller to a different location. Okay, so let's see if our player is walking along this hallway, right? We want to know how far we can see with a different light mode, and also with a flashlight and with a light, with a lantern. Later on, we're gonna attach the lantern. So let's bring him backward a little bit. Okay, so let's see if this is the maximum distance you want your player to be able to see through the flashlight. And then I will just put it here. So that is in the middle of this tunnel. All right. Okay, so now if I select the light mode 1, the spotlight, okay, and then if I turn off the lights group again, you can see that with this flashlight I can see something, okay, but it's not that strong. So I think I'm gonna adjust it. I intentionally make the light not strong because I don't want the first light mode to be able to see very far. So let's change the range down to 20. Okay, see, now the container disappeared because the light doesn't reach it. Okay, the range is only 20. And the intensity, let's make it even lower. Let's just do about 5. Okay, so that's gonna be really dark. Okay, so that's gonna be the first spotlight. So now let's duplicate it. Select the spotlight. Here, let me show you. Select the spotlight and hit Command D to duplicate it. And with the duplicate version, first I want you to do is change the intensity down to 3. Okay. Second, increase the spot angle to about 70. So now do you see an interesting transition there? Okay, and then let's select this spotlight again and make a duplication. So this time I'm gonna lower down the intensity to 0.5, and I'm gonna increase the spot angle to about 90. So now I can see very minimal lights on the side, on the border over here. Okay, so that's gonna be an interesting transition. See, this is how it looks. Okay. Okay, so this is the lighting mode 1, and for lighting mode 2, we want our player to be able to see further. Okay, so the light should be more focused. So here I'm gonna duplicate the spotlight here, the first one, make a duplication and grab it into the light mode 2. And I want to temporarily hide the light mode 1. So now we can focus on light mode 2. All right, so for light mode 2, we're going to change the range to 30, so we will be able to reach the container. See there? The container is in our view. And I want to boost up the intensity and lower down the spot angle. So let's do the spotlight angle first. So instead of 45, I will just do 25. And intensity, I will do 8. See, now it's brighter. So we're able to see farther, but it's more narrower, and the intensity is higher. So maybe spot angle, let's decrease it more. Let's just try 20 and see how it looks, or even 15. Okay, I think 15 will be more interesting. We could only see a very minimum area. Okay, this is how it looks. We will be able to see very minimum area, but we will be able to see farther. And intensity, let's try intensity as 9. Okay, and then let's make a duplication. And for the duplicate light, let's lower down the intensity to 4. And spot angle, this time let's try 25 and see how it looks. Yeah, I can see a little, see the transition. I think the intensity, maybe we can increase it to 5 and see how it looks. Yeah, with 5 we can see a little, so maybe 6. All right, 6 looks good. So I'm gonna stay at the 6. See, I'm interacting with testing with the different intensity and a different angle to get the best result. So now let's duplicate this spotlight again. And okay, and let's change the intensity down to 3. And this time for the spot angle, let's try 40. And let me see how it looks. So this is with the light. Okay, this is with the light, and this is without. Yeah, it increases our visibility. You can see small stuff there, but I'm not sure if you are able to see it in my recording. But I can tell the differences. I can at least see minimum stuff around the spotlight. Okay, so that's good. So now we got a 2 light mode. All right, and so now we've done with our flashlights. So now let's import our lantern. So go to the model, go to the lantern folder, and drag this lantern into the scene. Into the first-person character. Okay, so here we go. So basically they will stay together, and you can zero out its position. Okay, well, it's hard to see now, so now I can turn on the direction light. Okay, so here we go. So the lantern is huge, so I want to rotate it first and then change the scale. So I'm gonna try let me see, 0.3, how it looks. 0.3 should be good. So let me move this lantern at the same location as the flashlight, roughly here, and let's turn off the flashlight temporarily. You know what? I accidentally dropped the lantern into the flashlight group, so let me just move it out. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so that's the lantern, and in the game view, this is how it looks. I think I want to see bigger area, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the lantern. Oh, okay. I'm gonna change the scale to maybe 0.6. The reason why the scale has been changed is because it was in the flashlight group, so its scale value was affected by its parent object. So that's why now the scale value is different. Okay, so just to let you know if you are confused about that. Okay, so here I'm gonna move it more left, a little bit up. a little bit more. See, now I'm able to see part of the glass. So that's it. That's what I want to do. So we at least want to let the player know this is a lantern. Okay, so here we go. All right, so now I will also change the texture, the material of the glass. So here, let me create a new material, and I'm gonna say M lantern glass, and I'm gonna drop the second texture map in as the texture. The second map is self-emission, which is I use this texture for self-illumination, so not the glass to glow. So that's why for the glass area of texture, I paint it as a yellow. Just to let you know. All right. And we can also drop in the normal map. And for the material type, let's search illumination. And here you can see that we have several different shaders that are going to self-illuminate the texture. So let's try bumped specular. Oh, sorry, bumped diffuse. Let's try this one, the first one. Okay, so it gives us the option to apply the normal map and also the base map. So now we also have illumination channel. So let's also drag the same texture map here and then apply this material to the lantern. So now you should see that the lantern will lighten up by default. Okay, so if I turn off the directional light, this is how it looks. See, it's illuminated by default. Okay. All right. So now let me turn on the directional light so we'll be able to see the scene. And let's select the lantern and right click and create a point light. This time I'm going to create a point light and move the point light in front of the lantern. And let's change the color to bright yellowish color, or maybe bright orangish color. Okay, and to be able to see better, here I'm going to turn off directional light. So this is how this point light looks. So with the lantern, I want the player to be able to see everywhere surrounding the player. Okay, because we don't have the spot angle, but the range will not be much, because with a lantern, just imagine if you get a lantern or get a candle, you should be able to see pretty much everywhere 360 degree, right? But you cannot see very far. So the range I'm gonna keep as a minimum. I'm gonna just do 8. Intensity I would try intensity I would try maybe 5. Okay, I think that's enough. So we're able to see very close, but you know, we're able to see everything around the player, but not very far. Okay, so that's the lantern. Now we just need to create one actual object. Okay, so right click on the first person character and let's create an empty, and let's rename this empty as lights off. So this gonna only be an empty object without any lights. So that's why lights off. So whenever we switch to this object, we don't have any lights. So that's the purpose of it. All right. So now we will have the lantern and the flashlight with the 2 different mode and the lights off. So now you know what I'm gonna do next. So I will go to the cabinet that has the flashlights. Go to its hold on, trigger pickup object, flashlights object on hand. Okay, so we will have to replace the object on hand. So after the player pick up the flashlights, okay, so these are going to show up. All right, so we will select the first person character and create another my bad, sorry, right click on it and create another empty object, and we're gonna see flashlights on hand. So this is gonna be a group for all of the different lights. Okay, so whenever we pick up the flashlights, this group will be enabled. So now let's go back to trigger pickup object. So here we go. So we have object on hand. So you're going to replace it with the flashlights on hand. Okay, so if I show you the script very quick, you will see the pickup objects. Okay, see, once we press E and we pick up the object, so the object on hand, it will be activated. So that is the whole group, it will be activated once we pick it up. All right, now let's get a script to control all of the lights. So let's go to the scripts folder, drop in the lights and gun control script into your project. Here, let's select a first person character. Let's right click, create an empty, and rename it to light gun control. So later on, we're going to pick up gun also. So I already included the function here in this script, even though we haven't actually collected the gun. Okay, so on this script, we're going to drop this object. We're going to drop this script. So control lights off, flashlights mode. Okay, so here are the 4 variables we're going to assign. So first is lights off, and then it's a flashlight mode 1, mode 2. So each of the mode includes the lights, the spotlights. All right, and lanterns here, and gun, we haven't have any gun, but let's just create one for testing purpose. Okay. All right, so let's select the first person character. Also, let's create a empty object. Let's see, you know what? Instead of create empty object, sorry, I just changed my mind. We want something to be able to see, so it could be more visible. So right click on the first person character. Let's create a 3D object, a sphere, maybe a sphere, so we can see that. So it's here. Okay, so move it to the front of the character, and let's make it smaller. All right, let's make it smaller. Okay, so let's see, gun testing. Okay, so now let's right click on gun testing, create an empty object. So this time we're gonna say gun on hand, and we'll just switch the order of the parenting. So we're going to move the gun on hand out of the gun testing and drop the gun testing inside of the gun on hand. So just think it this way: gun on hand is the folder that holds the gun. So right now it's a testing gun. Okay, so let's make the gun maybe a little even smaller. So let me see. Yeah, we should be able to see it. That's good. Okay, so now let's select the light and gun control and assign gun at here. Okay. So now let me see. Okay, we got everything. Okay, so now let me show you the script. So if I just double click to open it. So here's the function for light and gun control. So we're going to declare 2 integers. So you can think about it this way. So these 2 are a pool of numbers. Okay, one is a light sequence, one is a gun sequence. So we'll need it to calculate numbers. So when we start the game, we want the light off to set as true. So basically the lights is off. So there's nothing, inside of the lights off. So definitely there's no lights at all. And we want the flashlights and the lantern all be active, all be false. It's gonna be deactivated. So there's no lights. And the gun also will be deactivated. Okay. So whenever you press down the number CK, so we're gonna use the C to switch different lighting mode. So we get here input, when you get input C, okay? And at the same time, if the light sequence, which is this pool of numbers. So if that equals 3, you're gonna reset to 0. Okay, and otherwise, every time we press C, you're going to add number 1 to it. So let's see, if it starts with 0, so we press C, it's going to be 1. Press C again, it's going to be 2. Press C one more time, it's going to be 3. And at the same time, this sequence is going to change back to 0, so it's going to reset. Okay, and you're going to also start coroutine, which is the coroutine is a light switch. So here's the coroutine for the light switch. Okay, so we're just reading this part. So when we press down the C, and if the light sequence is 0, then what's gonna happen is you're going to show the flashlight mode 1, which is the flashlight first mode, light mode. Okay, and when the light sequence is 1, see here, if we press C one more time, so light sequence add 1, right? So now the light sequence will be 1. So this time the flashlight mode 1 will be deactivated, and its mode 2 will be activated. So now it's showing the second mode, and the lantern, everything else are false. Okay, so if the light sequence is 2 this time, and then the flashlight is going to be deactivated and the lantern will be activated. And if the light sequence is 3 this time, so you're going to show the lights off object, which it has nothing in it, right? So that means we have low lights because all the flashlights and the lantern, they have been deactivated. Okay, so this is this part. So if you get number C, you will be able to switch your flashlights through the coroutine. Okay, so what if you press down R key? You can change the key. So instead of R, you can see, you can see H. Okay, so what if you press H key? Or here in my case, I put R. So what if I press R key? The gun sequence, which is another integer here, another pool of number. So the gun sequence will add 1. Okay, so let's say if it starts 0, when I press R, now the gun sequence is going to be 1. So when the gun sequence becomes 1, it equals 1, and then you're going to reset it to 0. So that means we only have 2 options here. So here we will have 4 options, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4 options, but here we only have 0 and 1, so 2 options. So when you press down R, you're going to add a number to the gun sequence, and at the same time you're gonna start the coroutine, which is gun switch. So now let's take a look at the gun switch coroutine. So it's down below here. Let me get more space here. Okay, so the gun switch coroutine is basically if the gun sequence is 0, so the gun will be activated. So set active as a 2. If the gun sequence is 1, and then the gun will be deactivated. So that's it. So we press R key, we'll be able to enable the gun or disable the gun. So we switch, we turn it on or turn it off. Okay, so that's basically the whole function. So let's switch to here. Gun control, yes, I already assigned everything. So now let's just do a testing. Okay, so here in the beginning is, my bad, I forgot to turn on the lights. Okay, all of the lights. Otherwise, because in the beginning we don't have the lights on the hand, so we won't be able to see anything. So I just enable the lights group, which is the ceiling light. So in the beginning, we don't have any lights on hand, so we'll be able to see the scene. See, by default, it disabled the flashlight on hand. That is because on the cabinet we have the script to disable it, right? We don't have a cabinet for the gun. So right now the gun on hand is already there. So if we just press R key, see, if you press R, so the gun testing will be enabled. So that's our gun. Okay, if I press C key, nothing happens. The flashlight doesn't work because the flashlight on hand, the group, have been disabled. Okay, so now let's just run through the whole sequence. So if I just go directly to here, and if I press EK, all right, I opened it, and it says, okay, collect the flashlights, and then it gives me the option to press EK to pick up the flashlight. Now I picked up the flashlight. So it says, okay, here will be flashlight instruction. So we're gonna put an instruction like hit CK to switch. So now if you hit C, you should be able to see that we're going to be able to switch the different lighting mode. Okay. Oh, I see one problem. Okay, do you notice that the flashlights keep staying there? So instead of turning off the whole model with a light bulb, you just turn off the light bulb. Okay, so that's a small bug. Excuse me, so we have to fix it, and it's very easy to fix. Okay, so now let's change it this way. So instead of put the light mode underneath the flashlight, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move them out. Okay, and for the flashlight model, I'm gonna duplicate it. Okay, and I'm gonna drop each one in each light mode. Okay, so that is the model. Okay, so now they're going to when we let me hide this one. Okay, when we show night mode 2, this is the night mode 2, and let me turn it off. And then when we show night mode 1, you're gonna switch to this one. See, you're gonna disable the model as well. Okay, now I noticed another issue. So I want to be able to see the flashlights. Okay, otherwise you're gonna appear just like a black color stick, which doesn't look good. So I think I'm gonna also create a light somewhere here to just lighten up the flashlight. Okay, so right click on light mode, and let's create a point light. And for this point light, the whole purpose is basically to lighten up the flashlight, so we'll be able to see the texture of it. See here, texture. Okay, so that's to see this flashlight, this is point light. The range don't have to be that high, so we will only need to cover a small range. So I just note this down, and let's change the intensity first. So let's okay, let's put a 5 as intensity. All right, and let's change the color. Maybe maybe some yellowish color, so it matches with the lights of the flashlight. All right, and maybe move it up a little bit. Okay, that looks good. So this is in light mode 1. Let's also duplicate it and bring it into the light mode 2. So in both lighting mode, we'll be able to see the flashlight. So let's see how it looks through here. Okay, looks perfect. I love it. All right, so now let me enable this, and let's change the instruction. So what key did I mention? So we're going to put, yeah, CK to switch the light. Okay, so now we're gonna change this line, this instruction. So I'm gonna go back to canvas. Okay, we're gonna go back to canvas. Instruction to use flashlights. We're going to change it to press C to switch flashlights. Okay, so that's it. So that's the instruction for the flashlights. And let me check the dialog. It will be dark soon. Okay, good. Another thing is when I let me just show you. So when I pick up the lights, when I open the drawer, it will show a dialog page, right? So let me show you here. But I'm able to move. See, I'm able to move, and sometimes I will lose the target. So I want to have some function that when it shows me the instruction or the dialog, I want the player to be concentrate. I don't want him to just walk around. I want him to be focused on what prints up on the screen. So basically, another word, I want to freeze the player, so you will not be able to walk around when I have the important instruction on the screen. Okay, so I want to add that part. We will just find the press key open cabinet script, okay, and duplicate it. See, hit Command D to make a duplication. All right. Okay, so here we go. Press key open cabinet 1. So that's the duplication. So I'm gonna change it to open cabinet with object. Okay, so that's the name I put it there. Basically, this duplicate script will only used on the cabinet that has the flashlight and has the gun. And then open this script. Okay, open this script. All I want you to do is basically just replace the class name based on the new name you have changed. So the file name should match with the class name. Otherwise, this script will not work. Here we're going to open a function. So we're gonna copy this part. We're gonna say public game object player. The player. What we're gonna do is, once you press the E, okay, you're going to draw instruction false. Here, you're going to go through the coroutine and then you're going to show the dialog, right? So when it is showing the dialog, I want to disable the player. So here, what you can do is basically we're going to put the player. So this should be the same as here. So it's safer to just copy here. Oh, I forgot to put a mark here. The player. So it's safer to just copy that part, the player, and then we want to get its component. So get component. Okay, so what component should we get? So basically we want to go to the player. So this is the player. We want to get its component, which is this component, the first person controller script. This is the script that allows us to control the player to walk forward, leftward, rightward. Okay, we want to disable this one. So we want to say get component. First person controller. Okay, first person caps lock P. Okay, caps lock C controller. Okay, and enabled. I'm gonna say false because at here, I want the player's first person controller to be disabled. Okay, and let me extend the script so I can have more space here. Okay, so here dialog, after 4 seconds, the dialog gonna be deactivated. So once the dialog is deactivated, I want the player to be free. Okay, so now the player get component first person controller gonna be enabled, gonna be true. Okay, and when we press down EK, and when our player is in the collider, so here this trigger, the box collider will be false, right? Will be deactivated. So that means the trigger will not function anymore. But also it's safer, in the end we also deactivate the trigger because now there's no use for it. So we're gonna copy this part. So at the end, once the player is freed, we're gonna deactivate this trigger. So the trigger for open the cabinet. So this trigger, and we can just copy this part. This trigger set active false. And let me double check for sure. Oh, I forgot one thing. So here we use the player, right? We call the player, and we are basically accessing. Let me show you. We are accessing the script from the standard assets. Okay, so the different systems. So we have to call it here. Okay, so here I'm gonna say using Unity. Let's go Unity standard assets. And characters. So remember in the previous demo, like when we are doing the racing game, here we call it the Unity standard assets and vehicle. We access the vehicle, and then we'll be able to phrase the vehicle control, right? So here's the character because now we are first person. we're using first person character. So here, let's see, he should be first person character. Yeah, first person character. Okay. So here we're gonna just say first person. All right. And since later on maybe we're gonna use UI as well. So here for safe we'll just call it. So sorry, unit engine and UI. So maybe later on we're gonna use the UI as well. Let's just save this script. The namespace character does not exist. Okay. I think I just mistyped it. Character. Okay, and I'm gonna go to trigger open caplet, and I'm gonna remove it and assign the new script to here and assign all of the variables. And here's the instructions. So you're gonna be find flashlight, enemy object gonna be the drawer itself. This trigger gonna be the trigger itself. Yeah, this trigger itself. Drawer open sound gonna be audio open caplet. Dialog gonna be the dialog flashlights. And pickup object trigger is gonna be the trigger pickup flashlights. Okay, because we are at the caplet that has the flashlight. Okay, so now we also want to change the pickup script. So when we pick up the flashlights, right, when it shows us the instruction, I also want to freeze the player because I want the player to concentrate at the instruction we put for him. So we're gonna go back to script, and we're gonna go to, where is it? This one. Okay, press key pickup object, and this is the press key pickup object scripts. We're gonna use the Unity engine UI and also the standard access characters. So once we press EK pickup, after we pick up the object, right? So once we hit EK, pick up the object, and then you're gonna start this coroutines. You're gonna show the next instruction, which is what key to press in order to switch, switch the object, switch either the lights or switch the gun. So we want our player to be freezed, so we can just copy it from the open caplet script. So all we need is this part, the player get component here. Okay, now switch back to pick up objects. So when we show the next instruction, which is press the key to switch the flashlights, the player will be freezed. Okay, and then let me show you, give you more space. Okay, and then when the next instruction set active as a false, okay, and here we can add the, we're gonna enable the player. I think I'm gonna give it another half a second, or maybe before this trigger is deactivated. Okay, so I'm gonna say enable to be true. So I just give it an extra half a second after the instruction be deactivated, and then the player will be free. Okay, so that's it. But we added here the reference, but we also need to call it. We need to we need to include the game object here. So here I'm gonna say the player. Make sure it's the same. Yeah, the player caps lock T, caps lock P. If I select it, yes, it matches. Okay, so save, and then switch back to here. And if no error pop up, we should be good. And so now we can test it. Okay, so now test. Okay, so the script doesn't have any error, so that's good. And here, let's come here. Okay, so now I'm able to move. If I press E, oh, I forgot one thing. See, it says the player is not assigned. My bad. I'm just too rush on this. So here, let's go to trigger open caplet. Trigger open caplet. And here the player, we just added this value, right? So we have to assign it. So assign the FPS controller to here. And yeah, I got it. And then the trigger pickup object, we also need to assign it. The player, which is the first person controller. Okay, and now save the game. Now start another test. Okay, press E. Now it's a freeze. See, I'm not able to move at all. And once the instruction is off, now I'm able to move. Now it asks me to press E to pick up. So now I pick it up. So now I'm not able to move again. It says press C to switch light. Okay, so now I press C. Yes, I'm able to switch light. Good. Okay, good. C. Press C to switch light. Okay, so now the next thing what we're going to do is let me switch it back to scene. We're going to replicate this function. So all of these containers, these cabinets, okay, are for flashlights. So now we want to add a few here for the gun. Okay, so we're gonna put a few here for the gun, and we're gonna make it a little bit more interesting. So let's see, we're gonna rearrange the floor a little bit first, just to make sure I select the whole group and move it. Okay, we want to direct our players the walk path. So we want him to walk in this path. Okay, comes here. So that's why I just block it. Okay, and then here I would add another cabinet. So let's okay, add one here. So this one I'm gonna turn it this way and block the road. And I also want to make the trigger a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna make this trigger just narrower. Alright, so the player will not be able to trigger it from this angle. And let's see, so these will be for the gun. Now we're gonna change the instruction because for this cabinet, we assume that the player already finished the task of looking for flashlights. So now he will look for the gun. Okay, so we have to change the instructions. So now we're going to duplicate instruction finding flashlights. Okay, so we're going to duplicate this one. You know, where any text is fine, but just make sure to change the description. So here, instruction finding flashlights, we're going to change it to find gun, and press E to find the gun. Okay, so that's a new instruction. Here we go. So that's it. So press E to find the gun, and let me just disable that, and let's assign it to the new cabinet we have. So that's here, and that's the instruction. So we're going to assign it here. So now when the player walk this way and pick it up and open the drawer here, you're going to see, okay, press E to find the gun. So one of the cabinet behind here will have the gun. And let's just have more duplication. We're going to have one here. And one here. And one at there. So this one I will actually put the actual gun. Okay, and maybe I also want to put one at there, so I'm going to just duplicate this one. Okay, so that's the layout. But before our player go that far, I would add something to scare the player. So what I'm gonna do is around here, I'm gonna add a trigger. That trigger gonna turn off all of the lights, and then it'll gonna remind our player that okay, now you have to use the flashlights because now the ceiling lights is off. Now let's do it. So now, if I select this Kepler, and then I would be able to create a new 3D cube. Okay, and I'm gonna use it as a trigger. Okay, so now I'm gonna check on each trigger and turn off mesh renderer. So now let's bring in a script. So here first, let's rename it. Let's see, trigger shut off lights. Okay, so let's go to the script and bring in the shut off ceiling lights script. Alright, now the script is loaded, so let me show you the plan. Let's drop the script onto the trigger. Here we go. It has a lot of objects. Okay, so now let me show you the script to explain you what is that for. So whenever the object tag as a player enter this trigger, you're going to first disable this trigger, right? You're going to disable this box collider, so this trigger is not working anymore. And then you're going to start this coroutine. So what is this coroutine? So basically, it's like play a animation or a sequence, a sequence of event. So first of all, you're going to freeze our player. So you get his component, first person controller and false. So now our player will not be able to move. And then you're going to show a dialog, shut off lights. You're going to show this dialog. So what dialog you can put in here? I already write here. For example, you can see something like they are coming, find a weapon as soon as possible. Okay, so basically at this point, the lights is start to shut off and you're going to hear some horror sound. So this just to remind you, okay, so now you have to be quick. You have to find the gun. Okay, so you're gonna, at the same time, you're gonna play the horror music. Gonna show you the text, the dialog, and then after 1 second, the first light group, so light group 1, you're gonna be disabled, and you're gonna also play the sound for shut off lights. So I'm gonna do it this way. So basically, see here how many lights we have, right? So I'm gonna put these two lights in the group. First group, these two lights in the second group, and here's the third group, fourth group, and the fifth group gonna be all of the rest of the lights. So all of these lights gonna turn off one by one. Okay, one by one. So that creates the horror. Okay, because here now you can see that after 1 second, first lighting group, the group 1 will be off, right? And then after another 1 second, the second lights group turned off, and it also plays the shut off light sound. And now you're gonna turn off the dialog gonna gone, and now you can also start to hear the zombie breathing sound. See, the sound is playing, and after half a second, the third light group gonna be off, and after 2 seconds, the fourth group of lights gonna be turned off, and after another 1 second, 0.7 seconds, the fifth lights group, which is all the rest of the lights, gonna all be turned off. So this whole world is dark. You must use the flashlights to light up the scene. This time, our player will be free. See, it will be enabled. Okay, so that is the script. This is basically that's the plan. Okay, so now we just have to assign each variables one by one. So first is the first person controller as the player, right? And this trigger is itself, which is the trigger shut off lights. So just assign itself to here, and dialog shut off lights. Okay, so we're gonna create a dialog here. So I can just duplicate the instruction, the last one. I can just duplicate it and turn it on and rename it to dialog shut off lights. Okay, and what to put here? I'm gonna just use this sentence, but you can use your creative to write more interesting stuff. Okay, so here I'm gonna just say, okay, they're coming, and you need to find the weapon as soon as possible. Okay, so now I'm gonna assign it to the trigger. Start off shot of lights. Okay, and then we're gonna do horror music and zombie breathing sound. I'm gonna go back to assets, go to the audio. Okay, audio, shot of lights, and zombie breathing sound 1, and background music horror 1. Okay, so these are 3 clips. Drop them into the scene. Okay, and then let's see. First is horror music. So we can simply just create an empty object at any location is fine. And this one I'm gonna say background music horror 1. Okay, and we're gonna drag the background music to it, and check off it, play on wake and loop it. So once the script call it, you're gonna keep looping. Okay, keep looping, and we'll just make it as a 2D sound, so the sound will float on top of the screen, so it will not fade out if we walk far away from the sound source. Okay, but one thing we must change is the volume. Okay, so I already tested the sound. It's too loud. Okay, so we're gonna only put about 0.3 or even 0.25. Otherwise, it's gonna be too loud. So here we're gonna apply onto the trigger shot of lights. So here's the horror music and zombie breathing sound. So zombie breathing sound, we're going to place the breathing sound somewhere here at the back end of the tunnel. Okay, so I can just select this flashlight, this spotlight, press F key to focus my view here, and then I can drop an empty object here, and I'm gonna say maybe audio zombie breathing 1. Okay, and drop the zombie breathing sound here, and also check off play on wake and loop it, so it will be the sound will be turned off once this object has been deactivated. Okay, so we're gonna touch that later on. So once we actually pissed off the zombie, so the zombie is going to attack us. So the zombie going to make another sound. So that case we're gonna disable this object. So we are not there yet. But this time we want to loop, and we want to change it to a 3D sound, and we want to change the rule off to a different type. So the sound will feed out through this linear way. Okay, and you can keep the max distance as we'll just try 300. And here's the listener, see, which is our player. Our player has this distance from the origination of the sound. So this is the origination of the sound, which is here, and see this red line, that is where our players are standing. So we are still able to hear it. So that's good. Okay. So now let's select the trigger. Let's assign the zombie breathing sound to here. So now only thing left is the light group and the shot of lights sound, right? So now let's do it one by one. So first we're gonna go to the spotlights. Let's see which spotlight I want to start with. Maybe I'm gonna start with this one. Okay, this one. And right click on it and create an empty object, and I'm gonna rename this one as light group 1, or to make it shorter, light G1. Okay, and I'm gonna flip the layer order and drop the spotlight into this empty object, so that gonna be the group. Okay, so 1 is not strong. I'm going to also put this one. Which one is that? Okay, so this is a light 4. I also drop the light 4 inside here, and then I want to add the sound for turn it off. Okay, so I'm gonna right click on light group 1, create an empty object. So this time I'm gonna say audio shot shut off light G1. Okay, and I'm gonna drag the audio shut off light onto this object, and again check off play on wake, and don't check on loop because we only want the shut off sound to play one time. Okay, and however we want it to be 3D sound. Okay, and let's see, should we try linear off for now? Okay, let's let me double check. Okay, maybe we'll try linear or roll off, so it has more dramatic feeling. However, we want to narrow down the max distance, so let's do it about like 200. Okay, let's try 200, and if this doesn't work, we're going to make it, we're going to increase it. So why I'm talking about that is because then later on we're going to have the fifth light there, right? So this is the distance, so we will see if it is exit this range. Otherwise, if it exited this range, we're going to increase the max distance. So that's the plan. Okay, so now this is the group 1 of the light, and this is the audio. So let's make the second group. So now second group gonna be here, this light. Okay, so let me turn off the light group 1 first to see. Okay, so here don't have any light, and then it's hard to see because my window is very small, so I have to test it this way. Okay, there's the one more light. So where's it came from? Oh, it came from the player. Okay, so never mind, I was confused. Okay, so this is gonna be group 2, and we want to right click on it and create empty. So this time I'm gonna say light G2 and bring it here and drop it in here. Okay, so if it's only one light, you even don't have to create a group, and you can simply just rename the light. I just do it this way to keep things organized. If instead of one light, if you have 2 lights like this, I'm gonna group them together. Okay, just let you know. All right, so now I'm going to right click on light group 2 and create an empty object. And this empty object, I'm going to just copy the name and paste it here. So this is going to be the shut off light group 2. I'm going to also bring it out of the scene, and then and drop the audio on it. Check off play on wake and 3D sound and linear off and 200. Okay, so I did this in purpose. Do you notice that the shut off light group 1 sound is coming from here, and the second sound is from here because the location matches exactly with the light's location? Okay, so our player, let's say when our player stand here, the lights shut off in this sequence, and the sound source also come up in this sequence. So it creates more realistic 3D environment feeling. Okay, just let you know. All right, so now this is group 2, and then group 3 will be here. So that is, let me zoom in. Okay, spotlight 3, spotlight 7, create empty, and light group 3, and I'm gonna switch the order. Okay, and I'm gonna also create a new empty object, and I'm gonna just copy the name here and put it here and move it down here, and here I'm gonna use the same same audio and same setting and linear off and 200. Okay, and light 3 I'm going to also put them together here, so I put them in a row. Now it's this one. So what is that? Let's see if I select it. So that's 8. Okay, now if I just click on that and see light group 4. Put it underneath that. Okay, exactly the same settings. Okay, so now at here, our players are still able to hear it. That's good. Okay, and then spotlight at 4, and also disable it and bring it here. Okay, and then I think the remaining lights are all of the rest lights. Okay, so because here we have nothing here, so actually let's just duplicate this light and place it here, so we have an extra light to turn off to increase the horror. So all of these lights going to, turn off in the sequence. All right, so this one we're going to right click and make empty object. I'm gonna say light group 5 and put it here and drop it in the group and create an empty object, and this time I'm gonna say group 5. Play on awake and 3D sound and linear off and 200. So now I'm gonna check if I have to change the range or not. Okay, so now let's see. The sound source is here, right? Our player is there. So if I place my player, first person controller, to where the trigger is located is somewhere around here. Okay, the trigger should be here. Let's see. Shot of lights trigger. Yeah, it's here. So now let's check if we are able to hear the audio at all. So now the sound source is here. So now if we check this graphic, oh, that's far enough. Okay, so we are able to hear it, which means we're good. So let's just test. If we change it to 60 or even 50, see now the sound is almost fade out. See that? Our listener is here, and this is the sound source. So we could only hear about like a quarter of the volume. That's good. Actually, this is what I want. Okay, so I want the sound to fade out when it's far away. So what we're gonna do is let's change all of the rest of 4 groups, the 4 sound. Let's change all of them to 50. Okay, that way if I select each of them, see this is a light group 1. My listener is here. The second one is getting closer. Third one getting far away again. Fourth one and fifth one. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we have all of the 5 lighting groups. Let me enable them. And we have all of the 5 sound. So now if we select the shut off lights trigger, okay, so we can just assign the value each one of them to here. So here's a light group 1, here's the group 2, and here's group 3, and here's group 4, and here's group 5. You know what, for group 5 I will put all the lights inside there, but let's do it later. So here let's just plug in the sound first. So here's the sound for group 1, sound for group 2, sound for group 3, and sound for group 4 and group 5. Okay, so everything is plugged in here. All we have to do is, as I mentioned, when we reach, when we turn off all the 4 groups, now is the last group. So we want all of the rest lights to be inside of this group. So now I'm going to drop these 4 lights in there, and these lights also in here. So when the last group be disabled, now the whole world will be dark. Okay, so that's the plan. All right, so now let's test the script. I think I got everything. temporal sound. Okay, so save the game, and and let's test. So let me put my first-person controller back right here. Okay, so we have to pick up the flashlights first, right? So testing the game. Okay, so I'm gonna go directly to here, find the flashlights, and I'm freezed. And okay, now pick it up, and then I'm freezed. And okay, so now I know that if I press C key, I will be able to enable the flashlight, but I don't want to do it for now. So let's test the trigger. Let me increase the volume. Okay. Got it? All right, that looks cool. But I think the sound is still too much. Okay, the sound is still too much. So I think I'm gonna test the distance to get the best result. And I'm going to place my player back to here to see if I'm able to hear it or not. Okay, if I'm here, so I think I may have to do 40. Yeah, 40 is just at the edge. Okay, so now let me do another test. Okay, that is good, but I think the sound is too loud, so we can select all of them and turn off the volume a little bit. So here's the volume by default is 1, right? If we do 45, and I also find the zombie sound is a little bit now too loud, so I'm gonna select the zombie sound as well, and change the volume down to about like a 0.6 or something. Okay, now another test. Okay, good. All right, next step, we're going to add the gun, okay, and in that drawer. So which one is that? So that is a 12. So we're gonna rename this to cabinet has gun. I'm gonna move my view to there, and I will disable the part 1 of it, and I'm gonna put a gun in here. Press F key to focus your view here, and let's create a 3D object, a cube, and make this cube smaller. So we're gonna place our gun on top of it. All right, so that's it. And now let's get to our gun models. Go to the gun folder and bring in bring in this whole folder. Okay, so let's put the gun here. You can create a point light around here to make it more visible. Okay, so here we're going to let's just go to game object and create a light and a point light. Bring it up, but the range should not be too big. So we only want it to be just enough to lighten up the gun. Okay, so now let's create a material for the gun. Gun, and let's apply the texture onto the gun. So here we go. Next step, what we're going to do is go to game object, create an empty object. So this empty object, we're going to see gun on ground or gun in drawer. And then we're going to move all of these 3 objects into this empty object. So we're going to be a group. And we're going to put this group inside of the cabinet drawer, so underneath the drawer. So you're gonna move with the drawer. When we open the drawer, you're gonna move together. All right, so now let's enable this. Yeah, so gun is inside there. All right, so now let's select the trigger for open the cabinet, and let's remove the script we have attached there, and then let's find a new script we have and reassign it. Okay, and reassign the variables. First is the player, and then the instruction. So this is the pick up the gun. There's gonna be instruction to find the gun. Enemy object gonna be drawer itself. This trigger is itself, and drawer open sound. Audio open cabinet, and the dialog. Okay, so we have to change the dialog. What we're gonna put here is okay, so once the drawer is open, all right, so you need to show some dialog like okay, pick up the gun, you will need it to survive in the wilderness, you know, something like that. Go back to the canvas. I'm gonna duplicate this one and hide the original one, and then I just change the duplication, say dialog gun. Okay, so that's it. And then we're going to trigger open cabinet. Yes, trigger open cabinet, and we're going to plug in here, so that will be the dialog. Okay, so now let me turn it off. Okay, so now after we open the drawer that has the gun, we will give the player an option to be able to pick up the gun, right? So that is the pickup object trigger. So now let's create a cube. And for this cube, let's rename it trigger pick up gun. And turn off mesh renderer, check on its trigger, and let's get the script onto it. So we're gonna use the press key to pick up object. Yeah, press key pick up object, drop it onto the pick up gun object. So here we're gonna just apply each variables. So first is the player, and then here's the instruction we have to create it. So the instruction is gonna be press E to pick up the gun, right? So we're gonna select in the canvas, we're gonna select one of the text and rename it. So here we're gonna say instruction pick up gun, and in the text box I'm gonna say press E to pick up the gun. Okay, I think that's the only thing I have to change. And then trigger pick up gun. Yes, trigger pick up the gun, and we're gonna assign it. So that's the instruction. Assign it, and this trigger is itself. It's itself. And object on ground basically is the gun in drawer, right? So it includes the gun, it includes the lights and the holder of it. So we're gonna assign it. Object on ground, object on hand. Okay, so because object on hand is on the player, right? So we have to work on the gun function. I will need a one lesson for that. So right now, since we already created this, see, gun for testing, so we're gonna just use that. It's just a sphere, right? So we're gonna select this group, the gun on hand group, drop it here, gun on hand. It includes the sphere for testing. Okay, next instruction will tell the player how to operate the gun. So we're gonna go back to the canvas and duplicate the instruction, and here we're gonna say, we're gonna say instruction use gun, and for its instruction here we're gonna just say something like this will show you how to use the gun. Oh wait, actually, you know what? My bad. I forgot. I already included that inside of the script. So see, light and gun control in the script. Remember that? I explained it. So if you press down EK, you're gonna switch the light on or switch the gun on or off, right? So we can just put it here. So use R to switch gun. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the trigger, pick up the gun, and drop the next instruction here, which is the instruction use the gun. Oops, use the gun. Pick up object sound. Okay, so that's gonna pick up the gun, right? So we're gonna go to the audio and pick up the gun audio, drop it in the scene, and here we go. So here's the pick up the gun. Okay, so now we're gonna select the drawer here, the drawer, and then we're gonna right click and create an empty object, and here I'm gonna say audio pick up gun, and on this object I'm gonna drop in the audio for pick up the gun, and I'm gonna check off play on wake, check off loop, and 2D sound is fine, but let me see. Okay, well, just keep it as 2D sound. Okay, now I'm gonna assign it onto the trigger, so that's a pick up gun sound, and then that's the step. I'm going to bring this trigger pick up gun into the drawer group. So remember that when you have to open the cabinet, and then the cabinet gonna enable the pick up object trigger. Okay, so that's it. I think it's gonna work. All right. So now let me find where the player is. Okay. So let me bring in the player backward. So now we're gonna run a full test. Okay, now it tells me press C to switch light. Okay, so here's a flashlight. And okay, so now I have to turn on the flashlights. Let me use this one. And then here's the cabinet that has the gun. And tells me press R to switch. And here I'm press R, so here's the gun. R again, you can turn it off. R again to show and turn it off. C to switch different lights.